In this video, we're going to break down exactly what an LLM is so that you can understand the technology powering tools like ChatGPT and actually start using it to level up your life and career. Let's get into it. So here's a quick overview of what we'll cover today. First, we'll define what an LLM actually is without the confusing Silicon Valley jargon. Next, we'll look under the hood to see how these things work. Then we'll talk about how they learn. And finally, we'll cover their weird little quirks, like why they sometimes confidently lie to you. The basics, decoding the buzzword. All right, let's start with the obvious. You've probably heard the acronym floating around at work, and you might be thinking, what does it actually mean? LLM stands for Large Language Model. It's a specific type of AI, or artificial intelligence, that falls under a category called NLP, which stands for Natural Language Processing. Simply put, it's a computer program designed to understand, generate, and interact with human language. Think of it like a giant digital brain that has read almost everything ever written and can now finally tell you how to write a polite email to your boss without sounding passive-aggressive. Now, your eyebrows might be furrowing a bit, wondering if this means the robots are coming for your job. Oh yeah, totally. The Terminators are already printing their resumes. Honestly, no, they aren't. It's just a highly advanced tool. But how exactly does this tool manage to sound so shockingly human? Well, I'll explain the crazy math behind the magic in this next part. How it works, the world's smartest autocomplete. Okay, now we're getting to the good stuff. If you've ever used ChatGPT, Google Gemini, or Claude, you've interacted with an LLM. When you type in a prompt, you might think it's digging through a massive database of facts to find your exact answer. But it's actually doing something much weirder. It's essentially playing a very high-stakes game of guess the next word. At its core, an LLM relies on something called a neural network. That's a computing system roughly inspired by the human brain. But it doesn't think like we do. Instead, it breaks text down into tiny chunks called tokens. A token can be a whole word, a syllable, or just a single letter. When you ask it a question, the neural network analyzes the sequence of your tokens, calculates the statistical probability of millions of possible next tokens, and picks the most likely one to follow. It does this over and over, word by word, until a full sentence is formed. It's literally just the world's smartest autocomplete. Now, if you're wondering how it got so incredibly good at guessing, you aren't alone. Stick around because we're going to dive into its massive diet of data in just a second.
By the way, if you're getting value out of this video, hit like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell to get more valuable content like this.
Training day, digesting the entire internet. So how does a program get to the point where it can write a Shakespearean sonnet about your dog? It all comes down to the large part of large language model. These models are fed a truly mind-boggling amount of text. We're talking millions of books, Wikipedia articles, research papers, and yes, even the darkest, weirdest depths of Reddit. They read it all to learn grammar, facts, reasoning abilities, and how humans naturally communicate. During this massive training phase, developers tweak things called parameters. You can think of parameters as the internal connections or the model's memory pathways. Modern LLMs have hundreds of billions of parameters, which is why they take massive supercomputers and millions of dollars to build. They are learning the context of how words relate to each other. For example, it learns that the word apple is usually related to fruit, unless it's next to the word iPhone, in which case it's related to tech. It's a brilliant system, but it's definitely not perfect. That leads us to a massive frustration a lot of people run into, and we'll cover exactly why that happens right now. The dark side, confident liars and hallucinations. Yeah, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. You've probably experienced this. You ask an LLM a serious question, and it gives you a wonderfully structured, incredibly detailed answer that turns out to be completely and utterly wrong. In the AI industry, this is called a hallucination. Remember how we said LLMs are basically just predicting the most likely next word? Well, they don't actually understand what they're saying. They don't have a built-in truth detector. So if the statistical math points to a fake fact as being the most probable next string of words, the AI will deliver it to you with the absolute confidence of a mediocre politician. This is why you can't blindly trust everything an LLM spits out. You still have to be the expert. You have to verify the facts, check the math, and guide the model. It's a co-pilot, not an autopilot. All right, let's summarize what we covered today. We defined that an LLM, or large language model, is a type of AI built on neural networks that processes and generates human language. We learned that it works by predicting tokens, basically acting like a superpowered autocomplete. We covered how it gets trained on massive datasets using billions of parameters to learn context. And finally, we discussed why it sometimes hallucinates or makes things up. What this means for you is that you don't need to fear this technology, nor should you blindly trust it. Understanding how it predicts text takes away the intimidating mystery. It's an incredible tool, and now that you know how it works under the hood, you can write better prompts, catch its mistakes, and use it to save yourself hours of tedious work.
If you want to keep learning, check out this video next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.